Hello YouTube chess lovers and my friends, this is Gunjan here. Welcome to my 66th episode of Dirty Chess Tricks. Well, many people knows that 3 knights is one of my favorite opening weapon, and in fact I have created a video on that in my Dirty Chess Tricks 43 episode. However, in the recent time I have faced an amazing trappy line against it. And today I'm going to share some of the secrets and high profile tricks exist in that line. My game starts with a pattern of defense, so we have the following opening move order: e4, e5, knight to f3, and now rather than defending the e5 pawn by playing knight to c6, black choose the move knight to f6, counter-attacking the white pawn. The good thing about this line is it doesn't matter whether white continue with knight captures e5 main line or the move which I choose in the game, knight to c3. So now white defend the pawn and all set to capture on e5, and that's why the main line continue with knight to c6. However, my opponent come up with this very rare but very tricky move, bishop to c5. And you can already see white is already in the dilemma, because if he doesn't take the pawn and continue with bishop to e2 or bishop to c4, then black can continue with knight to c6, which is converting into the very good version of the Italian game. So more or less, if white wants to get any advantage, then he has to take this pawn, which in fact I did in the game. So as the e-pawn is firmly protected, white is not much bothered about queen to e7 nuisance. However, my opponent continue here with his tricky style, starting with knight to c6, offering the advanced Stafford Gambit structure. Now here, if white doesn't take this knight and goes back, then black can respond with d5, and with the leading development with most likely opposite side castle scenario, black has an ample compensation for the loss of pawn. So once again, in order to keep the advantage, white has to take this knight, and after black recapture with the d pawn, we have reached the critical tricky platform of this line. Now before we look further, the important point I like to highlight here that we can reach to this position via different move order. So for example, instead of playing the move knight to c3 here, if white continue with knight captures e5, then we can respond with knight to c6, Stafford Gambit territory, and after knight captures c6 and pawn captures c6. Only difference here is you need to prepare the line against the move e5 or d3 by white. But knight to c3 is also one of the main response, and after this we directly transpose into our tricky platform with the move bishop to c5. Well, any white player naturally continue with either the move bishop to c4 or bishop to e2, planning to castle quickly. But in fact, this is where our tricks straight away comes into the picture. First, let me show you what happens after bishop to c4, which is in fact I played in my game. But to my surprise, after my opponent's next reply, more or less white has lost the plot. So before I move on guys, I want you to find a sequence where black is completely winning from this position. Are you ready? Let's start. The first move is very obvious. Knight to g4, attacking on f2. And in fact, there is no good way to defend on f2 except to castle on the king side. And white will be indeed happy if he can play the move d4 in the next turn. But nope, that is not going to happen, as after black's next amazing reply, yup, you guessed it, queen to h4, and suddenly, not only there is a mate on horizon with queen captures h2, but there are 3 attackers on f2 which cannot be defended. Here the forced reply is h3, but sadly, after knight captures f2, it is ill-advised to even continue the game. Why? What's so special about this move? Well, the first thing is first, this black knight is attacking the queen, and if white try to save the queen, let's say queen to e1, then we have this forced mating pattern. Let's see if you can find it. I am showing you right now. Knight captures h3, double discover check. Doesn't matter wherever the king goes. King to h1. Once again, we are going to deliver this double check with knight to f2. And after king to g1 and the move queen to h1, you really want to invite your friend and show them this wonderful checkmate. So that means here white has to take this knight with rook captures f2. But even after this, he is not out of the wood, as bishop captures f2, and the only move to keep white in the game is king to f1, because the natural move king to h1 leads to another big disaster. Yup, bishop captures h3, and the game is finished right there. Well, you might think, hang on, there is no need for bishop to c4, as I can play the move bishop to e2, stopping any nuisance of knight to g4. And isn't white is a clear pawn up in this scenario? Of course not, as black attack continue with queen to d4, attacking on f2, and after castle, the star move h5, and believe it or not, this position is more venomous than you think. In fact, some good players has reached to this position, and the most frequent choice by the white here is either to play h3 or d3, which I'm afraid not enough to save the game. Let's see each by turn and find out why this position is such dangerous for the white camp. In the first game, white player in excess of 2300 rated continue with h3, trying to stop the knight intrusion. But guess what? Black says, nope sweetie, I'm going to come anyways. Well, more or less, white has to take this knight, otherwise f2 pawn drops with a huge consequences. So in the game, white rightly removed this dangerous knight. But the net result is, after h captures g4, the h file open up with the rook, and black has a deadly threat. Let's continue with a random move from white. Let's say white is not aware of it, and continue with d3, liberating his last piece. But unfortunately for him, after queen to e5, the game is finished right there. Do you think about g3? Congratulations, because after queen captures g3, white indeed get checkmated. So that's the big time threat here, guys, and rightly so, white sensing the danger and continue with g3 at this point. Okay, black move is very obvious, queen to e5, threatening queen captures g3 checkmate. So white stop it with the move king to g2. And I'm sure at this point white is more than happy, as he can meet the threat of queen to h5 with rook to h1, and currently he has neutralized all the threat. But just one big blow and white all imagination evaporated. Did you see it? You are a genius if you find bishop captures f2. Bam! What a move! Obviously, if king takes, then rook to h2 is a very strong reply. So in the game, white choose the obvious practical response. Rook captures f2. But after queen to h5, believe it or not, even though white is 2 pieces up in this position, he just resigned the game, as black has multiple threats which in fact cannot be easily dealt. By the way, chess engine gives black +4 advantage even though he is 2 pieces down. So you can easily see h3 doesn't stop our knight to g4 idea. So in our second game, white tried some more resilience with d3, and after the move knight to g4, he calmly defended with the move queen to e1. What I like about this line is that every move is so consistent, and if you remember the last game, you can easily see the next black reply. Yup, queen to e5, trying to deliver the checkmate. Okay, black stop it with the move g3, and now no second invitation required. Yup, h4, ripping apart whole white king side. In fact, the game finished very quickly with bishop to f4 attacking the queen, queen to h5, the obvious response. And now, seeing the h file is going to open up and his king will be in great danger, white played the ultimate blunder with king to g2, and after that, black just killed the white in a style. H captures g3, h captures g3, queen check, king to f3, and now lovely move, knight captures f2, bam! Well, the threat is very obvious. Bishop to g4 and checkmate the white king. So white has to take this knight with rook captures f2. But to his horror, he found out that he got this headshot with bishop to g4 check, and white simply resigned, as his king has no space to hide, and the obvious move king captures g4 completely fails due to queen to h5. Once again, a picturesque checkmate on the board. That's it guys, I hope you enjoy and learn this high profile tricky line against 3 knights. Remember, once you reach to this position, it doesn't matter however white respond. The big idea knight to g4 is almost gives black a winning combination just within the opening stage. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to like, subscribe and comment, and I will meet you in my next episode very soon. Bye and take care.